All right. Well,
Thanks for your call.
Thank you,
All right, take care.
Okay. And Ben has been waiting, so let's go ahead and we're going to hit Ben in Philadelphia. You are on with Tracie and Phil, and it says here your question is, how useful is it to debate with theists? As an atheist, should we feel compelled to?
Yeah, hello, Tracie and Phil.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Yeah, that is my question. I'm involved in, I'm not in like school, God knows, I'm old folk here, but I am involved in a number of online, I guess, hangouts, and there's always seemed to be theists who want to debate, and they hear there's an atheist, and it's like, kind of like they're wolves salivating at
that red
food.
meat.
So it's kind of like a theist and an atheist forum, right? Hey, I believe in God.
Right. It's like, oh, we were debating.
Great.
And, after a few months of, like, stepping up and wanting to argue, it's just like...
Oh, it's a lot of energy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of cortisol for nothing. I love what you guys do, and I'm happy to hear you do it. Yeah. But, like, for me, it's like, geez.
No. People, let me just say, wait a second. People have a fantasy that, like, we just do this all the time, right? We get off the show, and then we can't wait to go somewhere and argue with theists. It's like, no. No, I do this here, and that's it, right? Because I am not interested. Like I'm interested in what people. This is why there's the reason I do this is because I have a particular interest in wanting to have public conversations about it. One of the things I like to bear in mind is a conversation that you have. The more public it is, the better, because if the person that you're directly speaking to doesn't respond, or doesn't see your points, or isn't getting it, or has a chip on their shoulder, or isn't listening, whatever, other people can still see the debate unfold. And there are many times where people will say, I think this atheist points are better than this person who's making arguments that are actually really similar to things I would say, right? It allows people to see it and not be defensive because they're not in the dialogue with you. Unfortunately, a Christian forum, while it may still be, depending on your level of debating skill, a Christian forum may or may not. I mean, like you say, you're going to get overwhelmed. The problem that happens with that is that you don't really get a chance to have a conversation with one or two people. Usually you've got like
this
10 people all contacting you, and they've all got points, and then you're just like, oh my God, I'm spending like 10 hours responding to these people who are not even reading half my posts, and then they're posting back something in 5 minutes after I just did all this research and put in all these links, and I know they didn't even read it. Or they're saying the same thing over again. And so it ends up where you've got like 20 people going at you. So what you could do is either go to a place like that and maybe pick one or two people and focus on the people that you think can be the most productive as far as a conversation, that people that actually listen to you, that actually respond to your points, that are actually understanding what you're saying, considering what you're saying. If you find somebody like that, it can be useful. And I think that if other people are watching it, it's always better. Right? Like if you're going to do a good job, having other people see it, you can influence those people who you're maybe not directly communicating with. Whether or not a theist forum is the best opportunity for that, I don't know, because I don't, sit around on those very much. But again, you want to keep it to one or two people. You want the conversation to be a productive arena where you can offer cogent points that you think if someone hears this, like there's times I argue with somebody and I feel really frustrated and I don't think that they are getting what I'm trying to say. It doesn't mean that they have to agree with me, but sometimes I just don't even think they're hearing me, right? But what's cool about that is when other people are observing the conversation, I can get feedback from people who do understand or who do see it, and know that it is helping somebody, even if not the person that I'm talking to. And part of it is them just seeing the other person either melt down or their arguments crumble or they don't understand how really wrong-headed they seem. It makes a big difference when people observe an exchange like that. But I wouldn't do it one-on-one unless it's somebody you really care about that wants to talk to you and you feel like it would be productive between the two of you.
Yeah, I've had a few discussions, and the largest thing for me is finding someone that's, I guess, willing to honestly engage and is not just going to throw out useless rhetoric or, just some apologetics and not really address what is just that. Like finding someone who actually wants to have that honest conversation is usually the only way that I'll kind of really delve into it, and it hasn't even been on atheist or theist forums. It would happen on another post where somebody put an idea out there. There was a post that somebody had as far as like the weather being caused by gay sex. We had to like start kind of going into that, and it was
Can you have some sex that's going to make it warm again? Like, can you guys make it warm? Like, I don't know how you do it. Like, but whatever you need to do to like get this cold front to like back off. Please have sex that way.
I have
tonight
to consult my gay agenda handbook.
Call your partner and fix this weather because this is crap. Yeah,
it's in one of the indexes or something, but yeah, that's like it was a fairly productive conversation. I know that other people saw that as well. So even though we got into, it wasn't necessarily heated, but I was poking a lot of holes in the way that he was trying to argue, and I had some people send me PMs over that and say like, this was ridiculous and blah blah blah. And so I'm glad that other people saw it, but the person that I was talking with was at least honest about it to a degree, to actually read what I wrote and actually engage with what I was saying versus just kind of writing a response back in 2 seconds and not really looking at the full extent of what I was saying and understanding it. So those are the conversations that I like, at least on the online forum. This is a separate thing here because you never know what you're going to get out of it.
All I can think now is I want to see a research paper that tests like whether or not gay sex can influence the weather. Like I want to see where you have like, we're going to get a subject group of like 1,500 people and they are all going to have sex like this way for a week. And we're going to test and see if that, almost like the rain dance thing, right? Like we'll see if this, like what happens with the weather. Were there anything that wasn't predictable? Next week, have sex a different way. We'll see what happens with the weather. You know what I mean?
And then we'll try local weather or global?
Right. What's going to be your controls? We'll have straight married people have sex certain, similar ways and see if that, and that'll be the control group or whatever. And I mean, it's just like, I'm seeing, like the Onion or something doing this. I don't know. It just sounds like something that
do younger people, do they have a stronger effect on the gale force winds?
The title, gay sex and the influence on weather systems. Like, have like 3 or 4 researchers.
Gotta submit that to the Onion now.
Yeah. And is it when we tested groups of gay men and lesbians and we
stronger effects here and there, just depends.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry,
but
that's just what went through my head. Is that, somebody should test that out. Like, okay.
Should use a sample of closeted Christian pastors who who are preaching against gay sex, who are then having gay sex. That might even be a more...
I wonder if they have a greater effect. They're closer to God. They
like, see if there's tornadoes in an off-tornado season, if we, promote gay sex more during those seasons. If we have more gay sex, do we get a tornado, like, in an off-tornado? Can we cause a tornado, or can we cause a hurricane or something, They know we can't, right? I mean, they just say this crap. They know it's like, it's tornado season. Yeah. It's hurricane season. Let's start blaming gay. It's time to start blaming gay sex again, right?
It was so interesting.
Oh wait, this round we blamed gay sex last time. This time it's abortion, and it's like
just pick your poison.
Or maybe
and then, boom,
it's just hurricane season.
Yeah. And then the other, I've also been on things where there are two theists of different backgrounds, and it's like my religion is better than your religion. It all seems like Superman versus the Hulk, part 7,000. I mean, yes, two imaginary powerful beings versus each other. One's green, one's not, and it's like, oh my God, I like no patience for it. But maybe that's because I'm sane. I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but that.
Yeah,
it just still amazes me. I mean, you guys were talking I think one of the first callers today was what would happen if there were no religion. But I mean, I guess I feel compelled to talk to people because I don't think the religious folks are going anywhere fast, but in some way we have to get along with them. But without talking past each other and coming to loggerheads, I don't know. It just seems like kind of a trap we fall into as humans. Like people from the other tribe are evil and we're the good ones. And, how do we avoid that? or how do I avoid that as, coming from my tribe of atheists, keeping in mind their humanity as well, except when their humanity, they're talking about, the relationship with gay sex and weather. Like, you can't have there's no starting off point with that. I mean, there's not a communal rationality where there's, anything. When you have someone who actually thoroughly believes that, it's like, there is no dialogue. I mean,
it depends. I mean, there are some people that I'm sure that they, talking to them wouldn't make a difference at all. But yeah. I hope that the conversation that I had back then actually had, some kind of tangible effect, or can at least make that individual realize that trying to assert that and, backing it up with, a YouTube video, that had things, along the lines of, gay marriage was passed here, and, several months later, here was this hurricane that happened or something like that. But they were connected on the side. And so, I hope that it had an effect on that side. And the people that commented, it seemed to.
I tend to think, like, for me, I have to, there are people that you can tell are getting defensive, right? Like, they have something to prove. They have this agenda. They're just about pushing an agenda, and they're not really interested in hearing you. Like, so there's going to be all these little clues that, like, you have to repeat yourself 3 or 4 times on a point that really isn't that tough to understand, because they keep misrepresenting what you're saying. And they're either doing it to try to kind of get you off your game, get you frustrated, or they're doing it because they're not paying attention to what you're actually saying, right? So, I mean, just to give you an example, I had one conversation going on online where I had to literally say to somebody, you keep saying I'm saying this, and I keep responding. In every response I've put that I didn't say that. Now, you have to go back, because I'm not responding to this time that I'm replying. I'm not replying to anything else you've had to say. I'm telling you, you're saying I said this. What I actually said was that. If you think I've contradicted myself, or I said something previously that you think meant what you're representing me to have said, I want you to go back and pull that quote. Go back and tell me when I said this. Get the quote, because I need to hear what I said that made you think this was my position, because I have never expressed that position. Literally, the guy came back and said, well, you're just like, a clever debater, because I went back to look, and you never said that. You just, like, I made him think it, right? And I'm like, dude, I've said about 12 times now, in every single response, I've tried to clarify to you that I never said it, and that's not my position. It's never been my position, and this is my position, and you keep ignoring it, and now it's like I tricked you.
It's like, what are you reading?
Right. I mean, at some point, you have to say, sorry. You're gonna have to read better than that. If this is how you're gonna be, and then at the end of it, instead of coming back and saying, hey, I'm really sorry that I misrepresented you. You have been really, I went back, looked at the thread, and
I didn't find it.
You have to decide what conversations are productive.
Yeah.
And part of that is just reading how somebody treats you in the conversation. Do they take you seriously? Are they listening to what you're saying? Are they responding like they hear you, or at least they want to hear you? So even if they misunderstand, you can tell sometimes if somebody misunderstands in a way that it's like, okay, they really didn't get what I was trying to say. They took something away from it that was a little different, and I need to clarify that. That's fine. But when somebody just is intent on misrepresentation and they're just playing you, right? Don't waste your time with that crap.
Yeah. They can figure out if Hulk is better than Superman and go from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the real conversations.
Cool. That's good.
Your time is your life. Don't let people waste it.
Yeah, it happens quickly, I'm finding.
It does. It does indeed.
May as well appreciate it.
Yeah, use that hang-up button of life.
There you go, the life hang-up.
We all have our own personal hang-up
My
button.
wife is calling. Got to go.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right.